Hello, I'm Toycat, and this is how you cross the street in America. You push a button that turns on some warning lights, and then up there's some lights that you just kind of trust will stop cars before they come and hit you because they're going at 40 to 50 miles per hour. It's not a great system, but it's the system they use. By the way, I'm in the United States of America. In case you're curious as to what I'm doing over here, I'm actually about to head back to Canada, actually. I'm in Bellingham, Washington. If you look at that on a map, you'll see that we're basically surrounded by Canada on all sides. It's really weird how much of America is basically just Canada. I mean, Canada's national identity is built on being separate and different to America, but the more you see the border regions of both countries, the more you realize the culture really does just blur from one into the other. And yeah, the fact that this street I'm on right now with a McDonald's, a Pizza Hut, a Wendy's, a Walgreens and a Subway, and you know, honestly, this street design in general, which you would never find in the UK, the fact that this street design could be in either Canada or America is kind of proof of that by itself. But yeah, this walk and talk is not just about Canada and America differences, which I think it probably should be in some part, but it's more about something that's been on my mind a lot, that I always want to polish this idea and turn it into a video somewhere, but I never quite get it together. So let's instead just mention something very interesting to me, the idea of small country superiority. I've mentioned this about islands because islands are by nature small countries, with the exception being like Indonesia, but Indonesia doesn't count because it's like 10,000 different islands. Every country, Japan is maybe the biggest island nation, and it's still only like the 8th most populated country in the world. And you know, like it's been a long time since it was one of the global players for you know, like the lead, and you know, in terms of anything. And so yeah, small countries, islands tend to be small countries, but small countries, even when they're not islands, have this weird cultural superiority like inside of them that kind of has to exist. And I used to think that it was just like nationalism but on a smaller scale. Like if you look at every if you see any country which has a bigger neighbor, take for example you know, Norway and Sweden. Take for example Canada and the United States. Take for example even, oh, there's some squirrels, how cute. I feel like I'm literally a dog right now being distracted from my grand point by some squirrels playing around someone's garden, but that's cute, right? Anyway, if you take any small country of a larger neighbor, that small country is generally seen on the global stage as being much nicer. You never think of the world's largest countries by any metric as being nice, do you? You know, like, you know what the USA is? You know, world's largest economy, world's 3rd largest country by population, biggest military, etc. You know, the US sure is a nice country, aren't they? Like the way, and you know, like it's funny because you'll ignore all the nice things that probably, you know, that definitely do happen as a nation. I mean, the fact that about 500,000 to 750,000 people come to the, it's actually close to a full million most years, but roughly 1 million people every year come to the shores of this nation, and they come here, and the majority of those, there's a cat too, you know, come for the stroads, stay for the nature. But most people, about 1 million people a year, have their lives massively improved because they're let into a nation that could easily just say, yeah, we want zero immigration. It would work. Obviously it's mutually beneficial, and so is that nice though, or is that just kind of doing a thing that is good for everyone? You know, there's the difference there. You know, the US protects a lot of nations around the world with their, again, that silly large military, but is that nice, or are they really just aggressively promoting their interests? It's definitely the second one, but it's also kind of the first one, because large countries make you question what altruism truly is. You know, let's take another example with the, you know, the easy example would be like Japan and China, right? Like maybe we see it less here in the Western Hemisphere, but most people from Asian countries around China are like, yeah, our country be good, China be bad. They also hate each other a lot, so, you know, that kind of balances out the point a little bit. But the I thought we were about to go down Alien Avenue, by the way, but I guess it's Allen Ave. It says no outlet, which I still don't fully understand, but route open for bikes and peds. I don't know why it's calling me one of those people who do those things, but sure, call me a ped, Mr. Sign. Anyway, it's a funny joke. Anyway, the interesting thing about every small country next to a big country is the big country is objectively bigger by most metrics, but the small country has this nice reputation on the global stage. Whether it's Canada and their whole like, don't mind the milk over there, neighbor. I don't know what that's meant to be, or whether it's like take Scotland inside of the UK, or Ireland next to the UK as a whole, or England if you insist on being that way. Take Norway compared to Sweden. Sweden is cold and uncaring and refused to implement health laws during the pandemic, instead having health advisories, whereas Norway, they locked the border shut. You know, like man, this is a steep hill. You know, take any small country next to a big country, and the small country has a reputation for being nice, while the big country is generally richer per person. The big country is generally more powerful and more aggressive and can move itself that way. And this is kind of a weird culture point that I think every small country has to have. Every small country has to build its identity on something, and when you're like a big, strong country, you can build your nation's identity solely on strength. Strength is something that we intuitively have inside a lot of us. Strength is something we can instinctively see as a source of identity. Like, yeah, the big, strong, you know, like it's a thing, but it only works really in relation to others. There isn't really such thing as objective strength, is there? Like, sure, on a technical level, we're all strong in our own ways. If let's just use physical strength, like, well, you know, like, I don't muscle build, but I'm emotionally strong. That's a lie. But you know, like, the truth is, by any metric, you have to start stack ranking, and then there's people at the bottom of those stack ranks, and people inside that nation are probably going to spot that, like, wait, why are we at the bottom of the stack ranking list? I'd love to be at the top. I'd love to, you know, I don't know, move to a nation. I don't know which side I'm going to. I really hope it's not that way, because I'm kind of done with I'm pretty sure it's that way. But we you know, like, I think it's just a matter of fact that if you see a country is objectively better than yours, what's your reaction to that? One of two things. One is like, oh, I'll go to that country instead of this one. What am I doing over here? In the same way, if someone said, hey, okay, I'm surrounded by cars and houses, you can have your terrible beaten down 2007 Toyota Camry, or you can have my brand new, I don't even know what that is, a Volkswagen Jetta. You can have a brand new car. Wouldn't you like that? And if you're given the free choice, of course you go, yeah, I'll have the brand new. I don't know if a Jetta is better than a Camry. I'm not a car guy. But if someone offered to trade your little city flat with one of these houses on the hills, ignoring that we're pretty far from the nearest city, if someone offered you that, you'd be a fool not to take it. But society isn't really about that. Countries don't really just say, oh yeah, do you want to trade in your Canadian citizenship for an American one? Do you want to trade in your... Maybe this is just someone's driveway. That'd be a lot of pain if that was true. Imagine living in a place where you literally cannot walk to. Oh, yeah, I think it is, by the way. I think... Oh no, this is a trail of some form. I don't care what it is, but I'm following it. Like, that's not how the real world works. In the real world, the person with the brand new Volkswagen, private property, no trespassing. Oops. That sucks, huh? They put them on the wrong side of the tree though, which makes me think that you can't, whatever, I'm not going to think about it too hard. Oh, I think they're building like a full new house here, by the way. That is interesting to me. That is very interesting. Like, anyway, man, at the very least, walking down is easier than walking up. In the real world, you don't just get offered trades for things, you know, things have different values based on their attributes. And so we use something where we kind of justify that, like, well, the worst thing is actually better in some ways. And this is actually true. In the real world of millions of attributes of every single thing, everything is slightly better in its own little way. You know, sure, your 2020 Jetta might have, you know, cruise control, or I don't even know what a new feature is, like automatic windows, But my 2000s, my broken down car that doesn't work quite often has soul, and you can't buy soul. You know, using these immutable characteristics is how you'll sell that, like, actually, you know, these houses are real nice. I bet they are the better part of $1 million, right? But like, I'll be like, well, you don't get to live in a city, so if you want to get Hawaiian food, you're driving 2 hours, and you know, I live in the UK, I have to get on a flight to get Hawaiian food. But you get the point. I think that we have this like instinct to like say why something can just be inherently better than another thing. And one of the weird side attributes of this, in my opinion, is that we do this towards our very nation of birth too. There are reasons why you will always want to stay in the town where you are born. There's reasons why you always want to stay in the country where you grew up. And the reason for that, and the area that you broadly live in. And the reason for that is partially support circles, you know, your family, your friends. It's partially because it's what you know. Culture does vary even as you go just a few miles away, at least in the UK. And so like the slow way that it changes means you're always going to be kind of like out a little bit, you know, like I don't, something I don't know is like it kind of blows my mind is like, so if I go to a hotel with it has free parking, but the parking is valet only, and it's like, oh yeah, so whenever a valet comes, you gotta tip them. And it's like, I don't want a valet. I want to just put my car, they've got the garage space for my car to go in, I'll park my car in the garage because I don't want to pay $5 for my free parking. They're like, no, you can't do that, sir, that would be ridiculous. It's like, but I want free parking. They're like, no, yeah, you pay, the valet's here, you don't have to tip him, but I do have to socially tip him because you take a percentage of his tips, and you're paying him less under the assumption that the employee is paying every single. Man, I thought there was a trail here, but this is just walking into people's houses. See, where I'm from, walking this rurally close to someone's house, probably rude. Oh, according to the map, okay, according to the map, there was a trail that came in the middle of these houses over here. Well, that's something to work out. Anyway, usually, see this video is a metaphor for life. You think you're making progress, and you go all the way down a path, and you realize, oh, this didn't work. There's something called path dependency. This idea that we don't make the optimal decision based on starting from scratch. We make the optimal decision based on the previous decisions we've made. There's a kind of, it's much easier right now, for example, to buy a new petrol car because the infrastructure for petrol cars is much greater and easier. You know, like when you're buying a petrol car, you don't have to think about the range that it has, and that's path dependency. If we were starting from scratch, of course we'd use an electric motor inside of the car. It's so much more efficient in every angle of it. By now, we would have electric vehicles that have absurd ranges, and like a diesel or a petrol car would be reserved for the very weird edge cases. But instead, because we spent, hundreds of years, or 100 years or so, building along the path of this isn't a trail. I mean, it might be. It's like, I mean, there's a little parking thing for it here, but I assume that's someone's house. I mean, maybe it's not. The map does say I can just walk up here and it's a trail. This is the 32nd Street Trail, apparently. I don't know if it's mistaken, but I hope not, huh? Oh, it's gonna be muddy too. This is fun. Let's head up, I guess. I don't. Oh wait, that's something. There we go. There we go. Look at that. That's a definite pathway for a person to follow. Let's go. So yeah, this is actually a trail just in someone's neighborhood. There's a little Seaholm Hill Arbitrarium. It's going to be a no bikes allowed trail. We're going to be going uphill the whole way, hopefully, like with life. But yeah, so path dependency is the thing. Your life, if you could start from scratch, you choose to be born in, like, would you choose to be born with rich parents? I think I've debated this one before, but like, all the struggles you've been through, you wouldn't choose them again, besides for the fact that it makes you better at dealing with them in the future, and it like grows you as a person. It's the same thing with the car, where you say, well, I don't want fancy windscreen wipers that turn on automatically, or my car, the car I've been renting, has like little blind spot detectors, and it lets you know when there's a car in your blind spot, so you don't have to look over your shoulder. I don't know if I should be looking over my shoulder anyway, but it's cool as a little backup. But people without them might say, toy cat, that's actually more dangerous. And that's why my 2007 Camry with Soul is always going to be better. And we'll do that same with our life, right? Like, well, yeah, being born as, I don't know, having a billionaire parent, as an example, probably is better than having, you know, just a random guy be your parent. Who wants Bill from the used car dealership to be their parent, when you instead could have... Do I have to watch out for bears? This is like such a different... Like, I feel like I'm on a foreign planet right now for the way this place looks. Anyway, I think that, like, there are just things that, like, yeah, that'd help you out a lot. Even just having, like, moderately wealthy parents versus having not wealthy parents. Or, you know, having your university or college tuition paid for rather than having to get a job. Like, these minor different things change you a lot, and it's really easy to think of them as benefits. And I really do, from the bottom of my heart, believe that having no money growing up, like genuinely feeling bad, like the moment I first learned my mother was like in deep debt, I could never take money from her knowing that that wasn't her money, it was debt money. I'd be driving her £5 more in debt if I asked money from the cinema. And so I've always earned my money since I was 11 or 12. You know, people genuinely don't know what to think when I like I get the weirdest comments when I mention I had a website at 13, you know, that made a few $1,000s. People are like, why, what? And the number of people, what's sadder than the people who say that's weird are the people that go, yeah, I wish I could do that too. I feel bad having any money from my parents knowing they don't have much. I was like, yeah, that sucks, huh? Wouldn't it be cool if instead of being stuck on this this path that you're on right now, you could just go back and be like, okay, it'd be nice to have that normal upbringing, to understand how normal people are regarding, ooh, we have a fork in the trail. Let's take the hard way. Because sometimes, even though the easy way is easier, you'll convince yourself that the hard way was actually better in the long run. And sometimes the cool thing about that is actually, if that you really do believe it, it'll encourage you to start doing harder things in the future.
Thank you.
All good. But I think that if you start to do harder things as a result of that, hasn't that made you know, the world better and you better as a result? Or is that just trauma reverberating in such a way that there are people that work 100-hour weeks and, you know, never get to enjoy the fruits of their labor, whether that is you know, in fact, if you're working 100 hours a week, even at minimum wage, you're earning a pretty decent salary, as best I can tell. Right, like you're gonna have more money than you can enjoy with your remaining 68 hours, of which you probably have to sleep for 40 or 50. And so that's where the weird thing comes from, of like, yeah, you build yourself into this idea that the bad thing must actually be a good thing, because if the bad thing wasn't a good thing, then this is just worse than something else, and that hurts us as people. I don't know why we have that inherent value marker. And so here's the interesting point you can take this even further on, is we do this with countries. We do this with countries as well. Every small country feels superior. I read this Reddit thread of a guy, he worked as some form of software, like low-end software developer. He was earning 25k working in Scotland, and he had job offers for 55k in London, but he's like, oh yeah, but you know, you guys, you know, with the COVID thing down there, or like with the, you know, like, you know, it's a less caring country in England than Scotland. You know, they have higher taxes, and they have baby boxes, and they have all sorts of additional social programs free university, like free university. They have all sorts of additional social programs in Scotland, partly because they've got more money per capita rolling in from the devolution arrangement with the UK, but partially because you need to build as a nation this idea that you are better in some way, and kinda is really easy to build when you're a small nation. Partially because anything that you do that seems kind, you can, like, if you do better than other people, you'd be like, yeah, I'm kinder than them. It doesn't matter that actually giving, I don't know, what's an example? Giving baby boxes to babies does slightly decrease the odds that they'll suffocate in their sleep, and, like, you know, the costs of dealing with that are probably more than £100 per baby. You know, there's like an economic logic. There's like a calculated thought to basically every social program, almost every social program. There's some where it's just this will buy us boats, which is still a calculation, right? Every move that any person, and particularly any government, makes is calculated. But in spite of that, it helps these countries build a nice brand. Any European knows about America, lol, no healthcare. And what they mean is it's not government supported in any way, which actually it is. America is the largest government healthcare program of any country in the world. It's just only, despite spending more money than any other country, it only works for old people, veterans, and people of a certain income or below, which is probably says the inefficiencies of trying to deliver for just some groups, right? But there is a bigger healthcare program here. It just doesn't cover as many people. And obviously that's what people are really saying, like, I don't get free healthcare, and that's mean. And that's why Canadians will be like, you know, America sure be do nice. This is my Canadian accent, it's not very good. What is my accent that game today? But Canadians will say, like, yeah, you know, sure, I can earn double the salary in America, especially if you live on the border. Like, any American living here, very easy for them to get a work permit 20 miles that way and be working in Canada. Any Canadian, easy for them to get a work permit 20 miles this way and be in America. But it's funny, it happens a lot more that way than this way. There's a lot more Americans who theoretically can move to Canada than Canadians who move to America. But oddly enough, if you look into it, you'll find it happens a lot more one way than the other. And this is because of this is in direct contrast to these ideas that, like, oh, Canada's more caring, there's less gun violence, and there's free healthcare, and, like, oh, have you seen what's going on in America with that president, eh? He was orange for a bit. Did you hear that? Glad our presidents aren't orange over here. And so people, people say these things, and they use these things as, like, internal logic. But yet, in spite of that, a lot of people still do leave. And I always thought that to be a contradiction at first. But the way I actually see it is, like, actually, yeah, on a countrywide level, if you're a small country, you can't project power in the traditional sense of, like, we have the biggest economy, biggest military, biggest, you know, we are a big player, and you will respect us solely because we are big. You have to play the soft power game. The reason the UK has any say at all internationally is partially because the camera's, like, above me, so I look really, really fat. You know, that's why I'm going on a walk, because I need it after all this darn American food. You know, they have obesity in America, not like in Canada, land of the free. But the small country superiority, I'll admit I have a little bit of it myself. Like, well, sure, I'm paying, like, an additional, I don't want to tell you how many tens of thousands a year in taxes in the UK compared to here in Washington state. I don't want to calculate the house I could genuinely buy with the additional tax money that I've been paying, let alone the fact that I wouldn't be converting my currency from the US dollar to the pound. The pound is stronger than the dollar, but things generally cost the same. Let's not think about those things, because it'll make me sad. But at the same time, right? This is the coolest trail I've been on. I have, like, one person, you know, no bears. This is the ideal ratio of people to bears. in my opinion. So yeah, every small country has this thing in them, and I even have it a little bit for the UK. Like, well, even though all those things are true, also there's just some niceness about being in the UK that I get. You know, you don't say hello to people, at least where I'm from in the south of the UK. You know, you don't pay a yearly tax on owning a property. You pay a monthly tax on living in a property, which is, at the very least, it's substantially lower. All these, you know, like, I like that our toilets don't have, like, this much water in. I don't know how to show you, I've only got one hand. Our toilets have the normal amount of water in, and so as far as, I'm gonna put you on my head, actually. You know, I've decided, let's go on the head for the rest of this video. And so yeah, I like that. I like all these different things about the UK. I like that I know the nature. There aren't bears. You know, you go for... I like that you can cross the country in not too much time. I have friends who live on the other side of the UK, and it's like, yeah, I'll just hop on the train for an hour and a half. See you in no time. It's not like, well, I'd better prepare to fly and then drive 6 hours after that flight, or just drive 30 hours. Because I do have friends in America, but they live in far-off states like New Jersey or... you know, New Jersey is already very far away, has to be mentioned. But I have friends living in New York, and I have friends in these very far off places that functionally are just as far away if I'm in this part of America than in those parts. Which is maybe tragic. Man, that is something to look at, huh? And so there is these frictional factors that are holding me back from what is objectively in a lot of other ways. Probably better. I like the I like the experience of being in an American city, because people value like food much more here. As a food person, love the food experience. I guess I'm gonna keep going up. Guess that's the way. I love the variety of sugary and indeed nowadays non-sugary drinks. You can go to any gas station, you get 8 flavors of slush, sometimes 12 flavors, sometimes 16 flavors of slush just lying there, and you pay $1 and you get enough to give a small child diabetes. It is brilliant. You know, again, I can see why it's not for everyone, but it's clearly a fit for me. I mentioned this before, like, I was assumed as a teenager, being paid in dollars, like, yeah, probably will end up in America, it's on our TV, it's all these things. But all these frictional factors of like, well, you know, the UK might be pound for pound not as good. California alone has a larger GDP than the UK, and a larger land area, I think, too. And that's just one of the other. There's 49 other states going along with it, is what I'm saying. And so, despite all of these things being true, despite all of these things being true, I just have a friction holding me back. Like, I think to myself, man, you're basically starting again as far as friends are concerned. Like, all of my friends that I have from the UK become once a year friends, maybe twice a year if we stay really close, you know. You know, like in the first year maybe we even get that going because they can stay with me for free, and man, saving on hotel costs is great, but it's still a £400 flight from the UK to Seattle, right? It's like starting again in a weird way. And it's like that combined, all of those things together are the real reasons. You know, the social factors, the cultural factors, the friendship, even the family to some extent. Like I would have to fly back every year for Christmas. I would want to, I should say. And it's gonna mean something big. That's gonna be it's a big commitment to make for a life. But in reality, I still kind of think there's like, if I was to try and explain to someone why I did, or you know, I didn't end up doing it, it'd be like, well, you know how those savages are over there with the orange man as the president, or the gun violence, or the school shootings, which I guess is just gun violence under a different name, right? All these reasons would be the real logic, but I would use, oh, there's a swing here. I mean, what's stopping me? Worst case, I fall, and me holding the camera looks very cool. Let's go. Oh, this is really cool. I'm gonna get stranded. Yeah, do you see the issue here? I see the issue. I don't even, like, which way am I gonna swing? Okay, wait, let's find out. Oh, you swing forwards. I thought I'd go around the tree a little bit. Okay, so I'm just gonna get my leg over here. Oh, Christ. Maybe I just hang off. No, that's not gonna work either. I want to swing. See, I know I should swing. I know I'd enjoy the experience of me swinging more. But I'm clinging to this idea, well, by not swinging, oh, it's just a kid's toy, you know? When we do things or don't do things, we hold on to a logic that isn't necessarily true because we know it's more easily defensible. And I try my best not to do this because you don't grow as a person when you do that. Sure, you feel less social embarrassment from other people, but it's one of those cases where us being social animals can hold us back as individuals. And I put my keys in my pocket, by the way. I'm gonna just make sure that's all good. Us being social animals kind of holds us back in its own weird little way. Because sometimes we're so focused on social objectives. You know, like even money, honestly, right? Like, once you have the money to reach your goals in life, which are hopefully to have a comfortable day-to-day life and to make sure you have enough saved, the work is optional. To me, that's my end goal. Then after that, the status symbols, they're bonuses, they're not requirements. You know, I think stuff like, you know, I got offered a Facebook contract that was $90,000 a year for honestly not that much work. It was, well, actually it was gonna be a fair amount of work, but it's like, compared to the hours per week I work for my regular channel, it was a great deal. But, you know, like, I shouldn't have said the number now. See, that's me being like socially embarrassed. See, if I'd have thought about what I said before saying it, I wouldn't have given you the real numbers of just how much Facebook's paying. You'd have been worse off information-wise, just so I could seem better off and seem less like I'm being ridiculous of my, you know, and so you're not like, ooh, it's okay, I can't believe money means so little to you. It doesn't. I'm thinking strategically about my health and my future. I want to make that 90k in a way that's on my terms, preferably. You know, maybe that's hard. Maybe I regret that in a few years from now. But yeah, this big country, small country superiority, this idea that doing the worst thing is better, is something we need to hold on to, and I kind of wish we didn't. I kind of wish, are you looking up towards the sky right now? I kind of wish we weren't that way. I kind of wish that we, oh my God. I kind of wish that instead of being that way, we could just be more honest and frank and probably be more accepting. But that's until someone says something that's so against what you say that you're like, but I just don't understand you. Like, I think the reason we have these silly social niceties is because ultimately we need to feel like we get each other as a community, a family, a friend circle, but honestly even a country. Small countries do have a much better feeling of like, yeah, everyone else in my country, you know, there's some that have the opposite political opinions and they're evil and wrong or stupid and dumb, because that's how politics works in the modern age. But generally speaking, it's like, yeah, I know that Mrs. T, who lives at 34 Wood Lane in Nottingham, I know that generally speaking, she understands that, you know, my idea of politeness, and that me not saying something, me not saying hello when I pass her, isn't me being, you know, rude, but instead is like me leaving her alone. Or that when I enjoyed my meal, but I didn't leave money on the table afterwards. Or like even dumb things like hotel rooms. Like I learn this fact every now and then, but I don't internalize it, that you're meant to tip the maid when you're done. But like, do I tip? What I don't get is I've been staying in hotels that during COVID have not been cleaning the room Am I still tipping them? I don't think so, but it's implied. People who are into tipping are really socially aggressive about it. They're like, yeah, you tip minimum 25%. Oh, you tip less than 22%? Oh, did they spin your food or something? You know, like, because they're on the same path of like, oh, I found a road. That's odd. I didn't feel like I was in road territory. But yeah, I'll take you off my head now because this is boring to look at. I hope you could see me some amount there. I hope you can see me emotionally too and realize that ultimately something I value is being able to do stuff on my own terms. And that's why I find these social contracts to be challenging. That's why I find Facebook contracts to be challenging. You know, I wouldn't be working myself fully. I would be contracting with Facebook to do X amount of work every week. You know, produce things that I'm not happy with just to make sure that happens. And what I like about my current arrangement, and that fortunately has been made possible because of people, you know, who are members on the main channel or the Patreon on the second channel or whatever else, is I feel kind of at least one level removed from that. I feel like I can make freer decisions. And I always feel bad, like, when I say stuff like that, I realize that you're effectively asking strangers on the internet to bankroll your lifestyle, you know? Like, please be my sugar daddy. Do you like the quirky things I do? If you do, make sure to give me money so I can keep doing those rather than focusing on real economic incentives. But ultimately, it is just this, oh, there's a radio tower here. Probably get some good signal. Ultimately, when you really come down to it, the whole idea of anything I do on the internet is I like talking to the camera. I like sharing thoughts of the internet and knowing that people like to hear them. And it's the weirdest form of communication we've ever had for this. You know, even 150 years ago, if you wanted to share your words with other people, you had the book. 500 years ago, you didn't have the book. You had to orally speak to everyone you wanted to. And I think about stuff like, you know, Charles Dickens was a huge author, right? You probably know him if you're American. I think he's more popular in America even than the UK. But you know, he never made money from his works in America because America at the time only had copyright law for US citizens, and a US citizen Charles Dickens was not. But in the end, it wasn't his books that made money, it was the speaking tours. He did a series of lectures because of the fame that his books brought. And so in a weird way, his copyright being infringible and his books being cheap and, you know, basically freely spread around kind of led to his success. And I think about that in terms of, you know, like he enjoyed doing those lectures, I'm sure. I think he ended up with a good deal from the whole thing. But I think about how there's this certain joy that comes from like communicating with people that I really don't get on a one-to-one level, which is why it's weird that I get it and I really have it on 1,000-to-1 level. I love that you're choosing to be here. I love all these things. And I think it makes it really weird in the end game with regards to stuff like, why do people ultimately enjoy I guess I found a more natural trail, by the way, with actual people. You know, 3 persons to 1 bear. I think I'd rather have a bear than 2 people at this point. But yeah, I think that the speaking is something that I intuitively hate, but I sometimes think that and I don't know if this is me defending this is worse because it's what I have and you want to believe that the thing you have is better, but I genuinely have this thought that actually doing things you hate makes you understand those things much better than doing things that you love. I love that I play games. I love Minecraft. But like my real weird passions have come from the accidental things that I've started to learn along the way. I think people like learning skills, and there are certain physical attributes where like actually being intuitively gifted is great. Being a great sports person, you know, like swimmer, you need to be naturally a good swimmer and then build on that for your whole life to be one of the best swimmers in the world. But I like to believe that to be a good software programmer, or to be a good YouTuber, or to be a good whatever else, actually it's better if you intuitively hate those things. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe that's the dumbest thing I've ever said. All I know is there's a very, very cute little park bench right here. You know what? Let's go sit on the park bench. In loving memory of Marilyn Patricia Binder, 1958 to 2007. Man, I don't like working out the gap between those and being like, ah, that's 49. That's sad. You know, when someone dies when they're 80, you're like, well, whoa, look at that, by the way. What is it, even? I'm going this way. I think a lot about the implications of doing things that you hate rather than things that you like, of learning new things. But it's weird because no matter how much you think about it, no matter how much people might say it's a good thing, no one actually goes towards things that they hate as the default. It is locked. There is a little mountain pass, and it's locked. This is the weirdest little mystery, huh? Why is it locked? Is it summer only? Are there bears that live in the cave? Guess we'll find out in the summer. Anyway, yeah, it's been a nice little tour of the US near the border. Does it look like America or does it look like Canada? To me it looks like some weird alien planet, but would love to hear your thoughts down below. If you made it this far, answer that question and I'll know that you watched 41 minutes of the video. You probably shouldn't have. You got better things to do this Saturday. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.